Hi Peaches, it's Shaaba. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for clicking on another video. You know what time it is. Today we have a very special edition of AITA because we're looking specifically at couples. These little weekly segments have very quickly become my favourite, not just because they're a lot of fun, but also, as I mention every time, I like the idea of expanding our own mindsets and hopefully helping other people who watch these videos who might be in similar situations. Before we dive in though, and specifically because we're talking about couples today, I wanted to give a big thanks to today's video sponsor, Cheeks. Cheeks is a subscription-based sexual wellness platform designed to empower users in the world of sex education and entertainment. Their service is progressive, inclusive, diverse, ethical, and safe, which is something that we don't often see. Every member can watch films, listen with audio stories, and learn from blogs and a taboo-breaking magazine. And there are live intimate workshops to explore too. What I particularly love about Cheeks is that it doesn't feed into this misinformation and the lack of self-love that we often feel towards ourselves because of the unrealistic ideals we're often exposed to, right? Cheeks is all about genuine exploration, love, and self-love, which you know we're all about here on the Shaaba channel in every dimension. Cheeks works on a subscription basis, there's no minimum term and you can cancel at any time. It's $14.90 monthly or $9.90 monthly if you sign up with the annual subscription. If you like what you hear and you want to check out Cheeks completely for free for 7 days, you can use my code SHAABA when you choose the annual subscription. Take a look around and know that you can cancel or switch to the monthly subscription at any point during that trial period. To find out more about Cheeks, you can pop downstairs in the description box to click on the link getcheeks.com and also you see my code down there, SHAABA. Enjoy! Right, should we get on with these Am I the Arsehole posts that are steamy and educational but in a slightly different way? Are we ready to go fishing for some assholes? Let's do it. Am I the asshole for telling my sister that she's being a disloyal and terrible daughter for getting a hotel room with her fiance? I have to say that's a very intriguing title, not one I expected to include the word sister in a relationships one, but let's see. I'm a 28-year-old man and my family is very traditional. One rule for all guests, family or no, is that you cannot sleep with your partner if you aren't married. No exceptions. Does that mean not sleeping in the same bed or like sleeping as in sleeping? I've always thought that it was very fair. Their house, their rules. This comes up so much in the Am I the Arsehole forums. We'll have to talk about that rule soon. And me and my wife, 27-year-old woman, followed it happily whenever we visited, which is frequently. The whole family lives very close together. We followed it for 5 years till we got married last year. The issue is my sister, 29-year-old woman, and her fiance, 28-year-old man. I say it like that because they've been engaged for 4 years, together for 8. Are they not engaged? I'm very confused. They claim they did this to save money, even though my parents offered to pay for the wedding 4 years ago. They won't now though, and they turned the offer down, wanting to take it slow. Hang on, so they are engaged, but you're just not considering them engaged because you don't like the fact that they've had a long engagement before the wedding because they want to do things their own way? Seems a bit suspicious to me. I'm seeing a little arsehole badge kind of popping up there in my rearview mirror. And remember friends, there's always 3 sides to every story, right? Yours, theirs, and the truth. Reading between the lines, what I'm hearing here, very traditional, in my opinion, odd rules. Who cares? Why are you as a brother and as parents monitoring what you and your partner of 8 years are doing in the bedroom? That's so weird to me. So upon hearing this and then hearing what you're saying, when you say, oh, the parents offered to pay, maybe there were strings attached that this particular couple didn't want to adhere to. I want to see more information. The whole extended family was planning to come over to my parents' place for a get-together for a few days next week, and my sister asked our parents, with me in the room, if they could share a bed. Usually she gets her old room, he shares the basement with our uncles. Okay, well, good to clear that up, but that is really weird. And I don't think I'm subjective in saying that. I think objectively, it's just really weird to think that somebody that you're bringing into your life and family would share a room with your uncle. I wouldn't even share a room with my aunties or uncles, let alone expect Jamie, my husband, or even beforehand when we weren't married, to share a room with my uncles. Before my parents said anything, I reminded her that she knew very well the rule. My parents agreed. My sister said, okay, great, well, we'll get a room at the hotel up the road. Me and my parents are floored. We all think it's very disrespectful to the people who birthed and raised her. And not staying home is showing she values casual sex more than our parents. My personal views aside to how this works, I do think that OP here is being incredibly disrespectful to the fact that this person has been in a relationship with someone for 8 years. 8 years is not casual sex, number one. Number two is still just incredibly odd and very uncomfortable to me that a brother in particular, but also parents, are so interested in your sex life. It just doesn't sit well. That's what makes these am I the arsehole situations so interesting, right? Like, that's why I think we can learn from it, because unfortunately there aren't just black and white rules. Let's go back to the guest thing now. Yes, you can totally say my house, my rules. I appreciate that. But just because you're setting that as a blanket rule doesn't mean that people need to adhere to it. They could, one, not attend. I personally feel that if I'm inviting someone to come and spend the night in my guest bedroom, they can do what they want in that guest bedroom that would be reasonable to do in a bedroom. Who am I to tell them what they can and cannot do? I told her she was disloyal and frankly a bad daughter. Now she isn't coming and hasn't spoken to any family since. My wife mostly agrees but thinks I went too far. Get in the bin. You are the arsehole. That came out very harshly, but I stand by my point. It is not okay to police your sister's sex life or your daughter's sex life. It's not okay to assume that that's what they're gonna do. Just because two bodies are sleeping in the same bed doesn't mean that anything in particular is going on. And to think about that is just weird. I cannot stress that enough. Especially that age, married or not, if people want to do their own thing, they are entitled to do that. If you want to set rules, set your rules. But if people don't want to come, you can't be offended because you're being weird. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't set rules that aren't objectively and reasonably okay to follow and then be mad at someone for not wanting to partake. And the reason that I'm feeling a certain kind of way towards this OP in particular is the phrasing, things like casual sex, things like raised and birthed her. Just because you came out of somebody's body doesn't mean you owe them anything. You didn't consent to being born. That person chose to do that. And if they're mistreating you or making you do things that you don't want to do, you are under no obligation to do them just because there's a label family, mum, dad, brother, whatever it might be. Respect is a two-way street. And I actually think it's very healthy that the sister on this occasion is setting her own boundaries. She didn't say she wasn't going to come. She said she was going to find somewhere else to sleep so she could still partake in the family activities. She didn't even ask you to pay for it. So what is your problem? Should we see what other people have to say? Yes, you are the asshole. It's none of your business what they do in a hotel room. She opted out of your BS and is living her life on her terms, not some blockheaded, controlling assholes. That is more brutal than I said, but the principle remains, and I do agree with that. The part that really baffles me is how he calls it casual sex. Clearly it's casual sex in his mind solely because they're not married, so I guess OP inherited those traditional values. I'm sure the sister is just relieved to have an excuse to spend less time with these traditional folks. Wouldn't blame her, they sound insufferable. We shouldn't be making assumptions, but reading between the lines, it certainly seems that there are some rules that the sister here is not agreeing with. I'm not a doctor, but I hereby diagnose OP's family with overbearing. The cure is to stop obsessing over the sister's sex life. It's that simple. You are the asshole. On top of the obvious things that everyone else is saying, her fiance is being forced to share a room with random uncles. I don't even want to sleep in the same room as my own uncles, let alone my partners. I could understand wanting a child to sleep in separate rooms if they were young, around 18, under 20, like that sort of age. And if you have a guest room that is entirely empty for the partner to sleep in, as well as a room for your offspring. And just the idea of marriage being the criteria is so weird. I could marry someone in a day. I could go to Vegas and marry someone and bring back a total stranger that I just did this random ceremony with that's arbitrary just for money. Does that mean that that's okay? Shall we move on? Am I the arsehole for leaving and ruining the vacation over a harmless prank? Again, this doesn't sound very relationshipy. Recently I reconnected with my childhood friends and I was really happy to reunite and catch up. They can't all come over to me because it's super expensive for 3 people to pay for a flight and accommodation. One of them, B, 26-year-old woman, is married and she and her husband have a big home and usually invites the other 2 for weekends over or vacations. She suggested they have me over this time for their early January vacation for 2 weeks. My job allows me to work for anywhere as long as I have my tablet and stylus, so it wouldn't inconvenience me if I was away for 2 weeks. The others took time off work, I think. The vacation was great for the most part. They were all kind to me despite the years apart. B's husband was welcoming, but that's where the conflict comes in. Whenever I took some time to myself to work a little, he'd be there, making small talk and joking around. Sometimes he'd tell me things about himself and then say he doesn't feel like he has anyone to share the stuff with. Okay, maybe he's sad. Maybe he clicked with you. I have no problem with being a confidant of some sort when it's not interfering with your work schedule as well. I do totally appreciate wanting some time away, but I believe a husband shouldn't be spending too much time alone with his wife's friend, no matter the reason. I don't know, if you're also a friend, then they can spend time. I see no problem with anybody from any couple spending time with anyone as long as there is a trusting and healthy relationship, right? I told him when it got too uncomfortable and explained my reasons. That's when he got really inappropriate and tried to shoot his shot. What does that mean? Did he, try a pick-up line? Is that try and pick you up? It just sounds like a weird phrase. Make a move. Did you try and make a move? Oh my god, I'm so old. I freaked out and told him something along the lines of, B is a great woman. I can't believe you disrespect her like this. Things got awkward after that, so I told my friends I'll find a hotel to stay for the rest of my stay. They all burst out laughing, saying things like, gotcha, and asked if it's because B's husband came on to me. I asked how they knew, because as long as he kept his distance, I wasn't planning to tell B and possibly cause an argument between them. I would have told. I'd have been like, babe, your husband total. But okay, it turns out that they were all in on it to prank me. I was furious, understandably. It didn't sound like a prank to me, but one of those meaningless tests people do to test each other's loyalties. Things got heated and I left to find a hotel after giving them all a piece of my mind, including B's husband. I got here yesterday evening. One of the other friends called me saying vacation is ruined since B's husband is angry that I called him an arsehole in the argument and wants them to leave. She hopes I could apologise. Also, B does this to all her new friends to see how loyal they are because her husband is handsome and a great guy and women want him. Such a great guy to agree to hit on all of your friends. I responded with, I wish I gave in to this great guy then, and hung up. Now that I've calmed down, I think maybe I went a little too far with my response. Am I the asshole? Okay, your response was a bit far, but considering how heated you were, I understand. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so my voice is a bit funny. But cold or not, you are not the asshole, my love. You're put in a weird position. Actually, I don't think this is a test of loyalty to you. I think this is an unbelievable failure on B's part for not trusting her husband. She clearly doesn't. Why else is she creating this very weird twisted system so her failsafe is hearing from other people and not her husband? Uncomfortable, unhealthy. I don't like it. I would not be a friend in on that if I was one of the friends. Even if I was like hazed in that way, I'd be like, dude, this is not okay. I probably wouldn't be friends with them. Not the asshole. Everyone in this story is insane. I throw them all away and never look back. Sometimes high school buddies just need to stay in the yearbox. Not the asshole. I agree, we all grow. Sometimes that's together, sometimes that's apart, and recognizing that is a very healthy thing to do. No hard feelings, you're very different from me. I don't like it anymore. Bye! Yes, both B and her husband are awful. It sounds like B is a jealous asshole, and her husband just enjoys a silly game of theirs far too much. And other friends were in on this prank. None of this is okay. I'd cut them all out of my life. Not the asshole. Alright, my loves, shall we do one more? Am I the asshole for possibly excusing my dad's affair and telling my sister to move on? I am a 19-year-old man. My mum passed away 3 years ago. Sorry to hear that, my love. A parent's death is always going to be traumatic, but my older sister, 25-year-old woman, took it particularly hard. She was always very close with her mum, so I understand that it would be more difficult for her to process. Just because they were close and not because she was a daughter, yeah. Though we can't always tell how people grieve. Somebody could be quite distant from someone and still take it really hard and grieve really bad. My point is there's no formula for how long it takes to grieve. Just put that out there, Mama Shaaba. Pretty soon after my mum's passing, around 7 months, my dad told us he was dating his best friend, Thomas. Oh, nothing wrong with that. I was just like, oh, a bye. Well, an LGBT+. Shut up, Shaaba. Thomas has been friends with my dad since they were in college. For all of our lives, we called Thomas our bonus dad because of how involved he was in pretty much everything. He came to our school plays, award ceremonies, graduations. He was there when we took prom photos, the list goes on. Nearly every single significant life moment I've had that my parents were there for, so was Thomas. Should you tell OP? Or should I? It was a little bit of a shock when he first told us, but I love my dad and Thomas. Maybe some will call me cheesy or say that I'm reading too much into things, but there's something in my dad's eyes now that just reads as peaceful. I think he deserves that. My sister didn't take the announcement as well as I did. She claimed that it was way too soon after my mum's passing for my dad to start dating. So just to confirm, mum passed away, 7 months later, dad gets with Thomas, and it's now 2.5 years after that. Now this is where I might be the asshole. We love a self-reflective OP. Thank you for reaching out to the internet to ask for advice, right? That's really cool. I understand that grief is different for everyone, and I still miss my mum every single day, but the bitterness my sister holds is unreasonable in my eyes. Okay, just before we read on, I want to explain where my thoughts are coming from, just to see if we're on the same page, Peaches. Number one, it is possible that Thomas might have been more than a friend for a long time. Seems that OP figures this out a little bit later on, that maybe it was an affair, which obviously would suck. It's not a good thing to have an affair if you're in a monogamous relationship. If you're in a monogamous relationship, being the operative term. Quite often in these situations, particularly of the generation before us, if somebody is gay, I'm not suggesting this is what happened, I'm just saying it could be a possibility. They can have what is known as a beard, right? So it could be that mum in this situation knew about it, didn't want to upset the family dynamics, still loved dad, but recognised that dad had needs for a relationship that she couldn't fulfill, potentially because of sexual orientation. Maybe, I don't know. My point is, if that's happening, it could very well be that the mum was in on it and you as the kids didn't know. In that sense, it wouldn't be an affair if it was consensual with your mum knowing. Right? So the second thing that I want to say is you can't claim what is an unreasonable time period for somebody else. If somebody is feeling bitter, with all due respect, who are you to say that it's unreasonable? Anybody's feelings are valid. If they are feeling a certain way, they are entitled to feel a certain way. She came home over Christmas, but she's never overly friendly with Dad or Thomas, and it frustrates me. Sometimes we don't need to get involved, but also you have no place to say that. And in the same way as I just said for the sister, you too, OP, are entitled to feel your feelings, but recognizing where they come from and seeing if it's from a reasonable place or from an irrational place that therefore makes it a you problem and not somebody else's problem is important too. And this here seems to be a you problem, my love. I called her out on it this year in private and told her that she needed to stop making our dad feel guilty for moving on. She claims that she knew more than I did and that she was 99% sure that Dad and Thomas had something going on whilst Mum was still alive. I told her I didn't really care if they did. That might sound effed up, which is why I'm asking for judgment, but that's my dad's life, not mine. I said that there was no reason for us to be angry on my mum's behalf because she's gone, but our dad and Thomas are still here and she's wasting years with them, worried about what I'm sure was a very nuanced situation. She hasn't spoken to me since Christmas. Am I the asshole? Okay, so let's think about dad in this spot. I think there are a number of options that could have happened. Number one, mum knew and was acting as a beard, right? Because being LGBT plus is difficult. Maybe dad figured it out during their relationship. Mum was totally understanding and they came up with some sort of way to make it work. Maybe mum didn't know. And in those kind of situations, when somebody is gay or LGBT in any way, like in this sense, if you have attraction for someone else, you don't want to break up a family and you can still have so much love for someone, but still feel attraction to someone else that you can't control. That's obviously a really difficult position to be in. So depending on how serious it was, how soon it was, maybe, does it make it right? No, because honesty is important, but when honesty leads to pain, if it was near the end, like, I don't know. Like, there's so many unknowns here. Maybe dad felt like he didn't want to disrupt and upset the family dynamics. That could have been another thing. Maybe dad was just having a full-on affair, in which case that is super assholey. Maybe there was no affair at all, and it was that they were just good friends until 7 months after, where things developed XYZ. Any of these situations could be true. And you know what you need to do, my loves? You need to speak to the dad. Clearly it's causing conflict. Why don't you both sit down with your dad on his own and just say, look, what the hell is happening? How old are you? 25 and 19? You are old enough to understand. Clearly it's already affecting you. You deserve to know that history, to preserve your mum's memory, and also to respect your dad in whatever position he is in, or to not respect your dad if you decide that you don't wish to respect him after learning whatever the truth is. The point is, communication is key. I must appreciate that coming to the internet to get other people's ideas is a great thing to do, to learn more opinions and expand your own mindsets. But this is not a fully informed decision. You cannot make a decision because you don't know all of the facts. What you need to be doing first is going to your dad. I really hope you did that, or do that if you somehow. And following on from whatever your dad says, just know that you are entitled to act however you want to act, but so is your sister. You cannot influence what she does. She cannot influence what you do. So unfortunately, are you the asshole? Yes, but I can see you're trying to do what's best, and I really hope that this whole situation can be salvaged, because it sounds like it can with just a couple of candid, honest conversations. Should we see what people have to say? Not your place to tell her that she should move on with her grief, so for that, you are the asshole. Reddit is so brutal. Somebody else says, wouldn't that translate to everyone sucks here territory, considering she's also setting a time frame for her father's grief? I mean, possibly I see where the comment is coming from, but I actually don't think that the daughter's problem is that the dad moved on too fast. It's that she clearly is of the understanding, rightly or wrongly, that something else was happening whilst her mum was still alive. That is the problem. You are the asshole. You have no right to tell someone how they should feel or how to regulate their emotions. And yes, whilst I do agree with that, sometimes it's not as black and white, which is why this person's coming for help. I hope you received it. Alright, my loves, do you agree with my outcomes? It's totally fine if you didn't. Please do share your opinions downstairs. I'd love to hear them. Let's have a conversation. Just be kind in the comment section. Don't forget to check out Cheeks if you want to. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll catch you next time with another video. Be kind and have a great day. Bye!